Hello my fellow gamers, this is Slam Games, a board game publishing company in the making, and today I'm gonna teach you how to play the latest version, hopefully the last version of Fluffy Dragon. Now I have quite a few YouTube videos and I have taught this game to over 400 people, but apparently I cannot make the two at the same time. So this will be a 6th attempt at making this video and let's see how it goes. Hello darkness, my old friend. Now, in each round of Fluffy Dragons, you will use the force of the elements to fight off your fluffiest enemies to gather the most amount of gems. But choose your elements wisely because the sneakiest dragons reaps the highest rewards. To pick your elements, will choose where they will go. Now, at the beginning of the game, each player will pick a different dragon. There's the white dragon, the pink dragon, the blue dragon, the yellow dragon, and the red dragon. Each dragon comes with 1 dragon meeple, 10 gems, 5 elemental cards, there's water, fire, earth, wind, and electricity, and 1 cave card. Then place the elemental board on the center of the table where everyone can reach it. Now, one of your cards is your cave card. As a dragon, this is where you keep your hoard. So you will put it facing up on the table and you will place your gems on top of it. Any gems that you gather throughout the game will be placed there as well. Now, the youngest player usually goes first, but you can pick whoever you want if you want. At least not. The starting player will choose. Now the starting player will pick a card at random. On the elemental board, put a black gem on top of the element that came out. So since this one is water, we're gonna put a black gem on top of water. When a black gem is on top of an element, that's considered a lost treasure. Now that everyone knows where the lost treasure is, which I will explain later, everyone will pick a card, an elemental card from their hand, and they will place it on the table facing up simultaneously. This will be considered their unavailable element. At the end and the beginning of each round, everyone should have 1 unavailable element. This is to limit the moves that you can do on each round, and also to give your opponents a little information about what you cannot do. And now you're ready to start the battle. Let the fluffiest dragon reign supreme. Fluffiest dragon, 10 elemental cards. Each round of Fluffy Dragon has 3 phases: the claiming phase, the revealing phase, and the clashing phase. In each phase, the player with the starting player meeple will begin, and then it goes to the player on the left, until everyone goes. Now, on the claiming phase, a dragon will play an elemental card from their hand to the table face down. Then they will take their dragon meeple and put it on the elemental board on the element that they claim their card to be. Now, I could claim that this card that I put down is water and put my meeple on top of water, even though it's earth. Now, no one will know that it's earth until the revealing phase, which comes later. But right now, I could lie about it. And multiple people can claim the same element. It doesn't matter. After they do those 2 actions, placing a card down from their hand and placing the meeple on the element they claim their card to be, their turn ends and it's now the turn to the player of their left. Now, after you have made your claim, meaning you place a card down, you claim which element that card is, anyone else can wager against you. You wager against people when you think that they are lying, and you place the gems of your own color on top of their card. Later in the revealing phase, if they were lying, you will take your gems back and then you steal that same amount of gems from them. If they were telling the truth, they just skip them. But I will explain more about making wagers later on. After everyone has made their claim and everyone agrees there are no more wagers to be made during this round, everyone will pick up their unavailable element, their elemental card that will be on the table facing up, back into their hand, and now the revealing phase will begin. Now the revealing phase, just like any other phase, begins with the player with the starting player meeple. Now that player will flip up the elemental card that is on the table and revealing it to everyone. Now, at this moment, the dragon meeple needs to match their card. So if they lied and they put the dragon on a different element, they now need to move it. Afterwards, you need to immediately settle scores before you move on to the next player to the left. Now, settling scores consists in 2 things: wagers and sneaky dragons. As I mentioned earlier, wagers are made when somebody has made a claim and players really think that they are lying. So they can take their own color gems and put them on top of the facing down card. That means that during the revealing phase, When they flip it up, if the player was telling the truth, then they just get to keep the gems that were wagered against them. Now, on the other hand, if they were lying, the player that made the wager against them get to take their gems back, and then they steal that same amount of gems from the player that was lying. Now, the gems that they steal, they can always be any color that they want, even black gems. Also, multiple people can wager against the same player. The same player can wager against multiple people, but you can never wager more than 2 gems against the same player. So I could wager 2 against 1 player, 2 against 1 player, 2 against 1 player, but that might be a really quick game to run out of gems. Also, if multiple people wager gems against a player who was lying, they will steal the gems in the same order as the round order. You can only wager with gems of your own color, so we can keep track of who's wagering against whom. Now, when a player reveals their card and they were lying and nobody made a wager against them, that means that they got away with a bluff, which means they are a sneaky dragon. A sneaky dragon is a very high reward, but it's very hard to get away with. Now, if you are a sneaky dragon, then you get to steal gems equal to the amount of players minus 1. So in a 5-player game, you steal 4 gems. In a 3-player game, you steal 3 gems. And as always, they can be any color gems that you want. If you told the truth and nobody wagered against you, then nothing happens. After everyone has revealed their cards and all scores have been settled, the clashing phase begins. During the clashing phase, as always, you will start with the dragon with the starting player meeple. Now, on the elemental board, each element beats the next 2 in a clockwise order. So water beats fire and earth, fire beats earth and wind, earth beats wind and electricity, wind beats electricity and water, electricity beats water and fire. So each element beats the next 2 and is beaten by the previous 2 in a clockwise order. It's in a clockwise order. Now, the first thing a player needs to do during the clashing phase is knock down their dragon meeple. Then they see which elements they beat on the elemental board. If there are any dragons on top of those elements, then they steal 1 gem from each of those dragons, and as always, they can be any color gem they want, including black gems. So for example, if I'm the white dragon and I picked fire, the next 2 elements are earth and wind. I will steal 1 gem from each of the dragons that are standing on earth and wind. If I am on fire and another dragon is on fire, then we both ignore each other and just focus on the people that we beat. After the first player steals the gems from any dragons they beat, then it goes to the player on their left. If any dragon goes and they don't beat any dragon because no one picked elements in front of them, then they just knock down their meeple and it moves on to the next player. After everyone has had their turn during their clashing phase, then you see if there's anyone standing on top of a lost treasure. If I use water and there's a lost treasure on top of water and no one else is standing on top of water, then I get to take the black gem into my cave. Now, if there are multiple people on top of water, then it goes by the turn order. Then whoever went first from those players get to take the black gem. Afterwards, everyone takes back their meeples. The elemental card that is on the table facing up becomes your new unavailable element and you just leave it on the table. Now you see what element the last player on this round used. So if they pick fire, now you will take another black gem and you will put it on top of fire. This will become a new lost treasure for the next round. The last player is usually the one that has the most advantage because they get to see what everyone else did. So this is a kind of disadvantage for the next round because they are not going to be able to get the black gem. There can be multiple lost treasures in the elemental board. There can be multiple lost treasures in the same element. Lost treasures stay on the elemental board until they are taken or the game ends. After everyone has taken their meeples back, the lost treasures have been claimed and a new lost treasure has been put on the elemental board. Pass the first player meeple to the player to the left, so they will become the new first player on the next round. Dragon with the dragon. If at any point you run out of gems and your cave is empty, then you have been eliminated from the battle. But don't worry, now you have some extra time to figure out a new strategy so you can beat them on the rematch. The game ends when all rounds have been played or there's only one player left with gems. On a 2 and 3 player games, the game lasts 6 rounds. On a 4 player game, the game lasts 4 rounds. And on a 5 player game, the game lasts 5 rounds. One way to keep track on the 2 and 3 player games is to see how many black gems there are, because you will run out of them. And on a 4 player game there will be 2 left, and in a 5 player game there will be 1 left that will be unused. There are multiple ways to score in Fluffy Dragons. The first one is your own gems. Your own gems at the end of the game are gonna be worth 1 point each. Now all the other color gems are gonna be worth 2 points each. Now the black gems or the lost treasures are gonna be worth twice the number of players. So if you're playing on a 5 player game, it's 10 points, on a 4 player game it's 8 points, and so on. Also, you can make points by making a rainbow. You make a rainbow by having a gem of each different color that is being played on that game. Now, a rainbow is worth 1 point for each of the gems that form it. So on a 5 player game, a rainbow is worth 5 extra points, a 4 player game is worth 4 extra points, and so on. Now, you only count the rainbows when you have a full set. If you don't have a full set, you don't count them as a rainbow. And they stack so you can have multiple at the end of the game. Now, there's a little math behind counting your rainbows at the end of the game, so I made this chart to help you along with it. You can see that a rainbow in a 5 player game is worth 5 extra points. Now, the gems that form that rainbow are actually worth 9 points, because one of your own color that is worth 1 point and 4 of the other different colors 2 points each. So that's 9 points. So 9 points plus 5 is 14 points. So you can see that a whole rainbow is technically worth 14 points at the end of the game. And if you have multiple rainbows, then you can see 14 points, and then count the rest of your gems. There's also a 2 player variant called the Dragon Duel, and it has a few different things to spice things up. Now, on the Dragon Duel, instead of having 1 unavailable element at a time, you will usually have 2. So you will have more limitation on what you can do each round, and the other player will have more information about what you cannot do, so it brings the mind games to the next level. Now, if you're a sneaky dragon on a 2 player game, then instead of stealing 1 gem, you will steal 2. Now, the tiebreaker of Fluffy Dragons is really fun, because it basically, after this whole battle, it just goes back to its roots, and it's just rock, paper, scissors, basically, almost. You won't need meeples, you won't need a cave, you won't need gems. You kinda need the elemental board, but not really, just to, if you haven't learned which element, which beats which elements, both players will take their elemental cards back into their hands, and they will play 1 card face down in front of each other. Now, they have a little time to trash talk each other, and then they flip the cards. Whoever element beats the other one wins. If they both pick the same element, then they try again with the cards that are left in their hands. If they tie 5 times in a row, then they share the victory. Now, it has happened once or twice before that more than 2 players tied at the end of the game. Now, this gets a little bit tricky, because we need definitive winners and definitive losers. So let's say that in a 3 player tiebreaker, I pick water, and another player pick earth, and another player pick wind. Now, water beats earth, earth beats wind, and wind beats water. So we're all beating each other. I beat one and somebody else beats me, so there's not a definitive winner. So again, like in the 2 player game, if we tied, then we try again with the cards that are left in our hands. If we all tie 5 times in a row, then we all share the victory. Now, let's say that I picked water and the other 2 players picked fire and earth. Now, water beats fire and earth, so that would mean that I'm the definitive winner, so I would win the game. Now, on a scenario where let's say that I picked water, but the other 2 players picked electricity. Now, electricity beats water, so that means that I'm eliminated and they get to keep going again until one of them wins. Now, after you eliminate one of the players during a tiebreaker, you reset, which means that you take back all the elemental cards back into your hands, and then you go again trying to beat the players that are left. And yeah, that's Fluffy Dragons. Hopefully this is the video that makes it. And yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Send me an email. I don't know. Let me know. Bye. Take care. Have a wonderful day.